Hello, I'm Sandwich, and I've been playing Danger Zone for some time now. I've gotten some requests to make a video showing how to snurf. This video assumes that you have some basic knowledge of exojump and bump mine. I recommend ESL's video on this topic if you have not seen it already. I will assume a lot of knowledge from that video in this one. You have probably heard of surfing in CSGO. It requires proper use of strafing and air movement. The snurf we speak of in Danger Zone is simply sliding on the ground when you land instead of stopping completely right away. As you can see, when you snurf, you don't take any fall damage. We do not call it surf because surfing requires inputs when you touch the surface to move on. Snurfing, on the other hand, requires no inputs, although holding space helps. We'll get back to that. Most players struggling with snurfing are actually just struggling with placing and jumping properly on a bump mine. The mistake I see the most is throwing them too far in front of you and standing still for a long time before jumping on them. Remember from the ESL video that where you jump on the bump mine will affect which direction you go in. If you throw it far in front of you and jump on it late, you'll just go straight up and down. I'm going to use the terms horizontal and vertical speed in this video. In order to snurf, you need high horizontal speed. You won't get that by bumping like this. To bump properly, always start by bumping on fairly flat ground. Bumping on a slope is a bit different, and I'll look at that later. Now, there are roughly two ways to get a proper bump. For the first one, you want to look in this vertical angle. Not too high, not too low. Now you start to run. You throw the bump mine as you run, and crouch plus jump as you pass it. It should look something like this. Notice how low I go and how far I go. The second way is to throw the bump mine a lot lower but stand still a bit before you move. This one feels a bit more advanced as you need to get a feel for how long you're standing still based on the position of the bump mine. But it's also more versatile as you won't need as much space to run before you start it. I personally started bumping with method number 1, but then moved over to method number 2 as I got better. Now that you know how to bump properly, we need to look at air movement before you start to snurf. Right as you let go of crouch in your crouch plus space jump, do not let go of space. When you hold space in the air, you go a lot further than if you don't. Another button you need to let go of is W. You will not gain any extra speed in the air by holding W. And if you want to turn, W will make that really hard for you. The proper way to turn in the air is by pressing A or D, strafing in other words, in combination with smooth mouse movement in the same direction as you're strafing. Don't jank your mouse too hard in one direction or you start to drift in the air and not move. PS, if you want to start getting fancy, try to let go of space a little here and there to land exactly where you want to, as well as throwing in a little W here and there for some intended drifting. You now know how to bump, and you now know how to move in the air. The snurf almost happens automatically now. All you need is good horizontal speed and finding a nice slope to land on. You will never snurf on a downhill slope, only on an upward slope. If your slope is very steep, you need more horizontal speed to snurf. If you come from high up, snurfing is harder but not impossible. Combine your speed with the air movement you learn to turn a sideways slope into an upward slope. Sometimes the game just won't let you snurf. There are some bugs here and there and you need to get used to them. Now that you know the basics, it's time to have some fun. There are actually two main ways to use a bump mine. You can jump on it as we've been doing, or you can run over it. Running over it gives you a burst of speed but almost no height, but it's good for setting up a double bump. It's also good if you're stuck behind cover and need to reposition yourself so fast that the scouter can't hit you. It's also smart to use if you stand at a very high place, you don't get any extra height and a really hard landing. In order to set up a double bump, you need to find a small incline or hill or rock or something similar and set one bump on the top and run over a bump at the bottom to hit the other. As with anything, it becomes easier with practice. As you improve, you'll also start to see setups for double bumps everywhere you look. You use the double bump to travel a lot further than you'd be able to do with a single bump. Combining a double bump with snurfing is one of the most satisfying things you can do in Danger Zone. Don't expect to win more games though, just get more cool kills, and that's what it's all about. If you don't have time for a double, you can achieve a similar effect by using what we call an alley-oop. This is when you start with one regular bump, but as you're about to go into a snurf, you throw an extra bump mine in the air to snurf into another bump. You can technically do this twice, as you have 3 bump mines at your disposal, but this is very difficult to do. 2 common mistakes when throwing an alley-oop is to throw the bump mine too low and to throw it too late. The bump mine will not move much faster than you do, and it needs time to activate, so you need to throw it early. As with anything, practicing this will make you better. Here is an example of Hit Cobra, demonstrating a double, a snurf, and an alley-oop all in one go. This trick landed him the number 2 spot in the first competition of Danger Zone's Got Talent. If you start in an uphill slope, it's harder to gain a lot of horizontal speed. You might want to consider to turn around and start so you're in a downhill and then airstrafe back where you want to go. If you start in a downhill slope, you don't have to go as far forward to gain the same horizontal speed. If you try to run over a bump mine downhill, you will often experience this bug, which just deactivates the bump mine without pushing you at all. I don't know why this happens, but never run over a bump mine while going downhill. It's just a waste of bump mines. You want to practice this on your own server, and I'll show you how. Make sure to have the developer console turned on and type in this: game_mode space 0, semicolon game_type space 6, semicolon, map space DZ underscore, and then your map name, Frostbite, Sirocco, Blacksite, or any other Danger Zone maps they might publish. Once the map is loaded, open the command console again and type in many of the different commands you'll see on the screen to give you what you need to practice. I will leave all these commands down in the description below. Happy bumping and good luck!